even the mainstream media, the shill media, cannot defend Star Trek anymore. Hello everyone, I am still MechaRandom42, the one, the only, still the original, still your favorite YouTube harpy in the middle of a live stream talking about Batman, and once the Batman news dried up, we had to switch gears to Star Trek. Oh yeah. That's the one that's still really near and dear to my heart. That's the one that really is the catalyst for my YouTube channel. At least not being a gaming channel. That's the one that was so heartbreaking. And Screen Rant can't even defend this crap anymore. You have a huge, serious issue. New Star Trek has lost what made the show so great. Absolutely. And if you think for 1 minute that this new Pike series is going to be any better, well then, we do have a promo for you.
Coming to CBS All Access. From the makers of Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Picard,
sheer fucking hubris,
and Short Treks. Comes a new series that's more of the same old, same old. Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Coming to CBS All Access, if it still exists.
Doesn't really matter, chat says. I have no hopes for the Pike series. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, see, this would be the third one in a row that they have decided to say, oh, no. It's going to be optimistic. See, it's a new, hopeful, optimistic Star Trek. So either they weren't in Discovery or Picard, or it's just more of the same lip service, because they keep saying that time and time and time again. In the bleakness of Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery, modern Star Trek has forgotten Gene Roddenberry's optimistic philosophy. Well, you know what they say nowadays. He's just an old white dude. White male rage, white male rage, white male rage. Not only that, he work as a law enforcement officer, so he's double canceled for that one. Yeah, see, this is modern society. They just want to go after and complain and remove anything that doesn't align with their current very, very narrow-minded, hateful sort of pessimism that they view as more self-righteous than anything, right? That's all it is. Modern Star Trek has forgotten the optimism that made the franchise great. Absolutely. I agree, because this new Star Trek is just negativity upon dark, bleak, dreary, people at each other's throats, people shoving people out of the way, people getting rewarded for their bad behavior constantly, because that's what Star Trek am now. There's a sense in which modern society has never felt so pessimistic. Agreed, absolutely. Gone are the days when humans look to the future with a sense of hope. There is a sense of fear. Yes, that's what I've been saying. We need something hopeful and optimistic to look for. And you know what? The Orville's doing that. The Orville can give me that. The Orville can give me a chance to say, hey, maybe humanity's going to be okay. Maybe humanity isn't going to resort to, destroying itself. But if you go the way Star Trek says, well, yeah, that whole we got past, money and treating each other badly and all, oh, that was just a phase. That didn't last. It only lasted a few hundred years. And now, just because we've got current modern day writers, now everybody's just shoot 'em up, bang, bang, at each other's throats. Because they couldn't even be bothered to watch real Star Trek or know anything about it at all. The future is a place full of unknown, half-formed terrors, while at the same time, we are gradually becoming aware of the evils of the past are still with us. Prejudice, intolerance, bigotry, and hatred. The new Star Trek series ethos seems no longer confident humanity will be able to beat those challenges. Yeah, they're just inserting a bunch of modern-day us versus them mentality into Star Trek.
What do you want? When do you want it?
And yeah, I don't like that mentality. I don't like that message. I like using violence as the least That's not the option, you know? If you have a choice between a rock and a hard place, you find a third option. You find a compromise that not everybody's going to be happy with, but you don't resort to violence and destruction as that. And that's exactly what they're talking about here. Science fiction has always served to hold up a mirror to contemporary society. Sci-fi worlds may be fantastical, but they allow viewers to understand contemporary issues. Symbolic of this, the last decade or so saw the rise of dystopian futures, sadly, and I got tired of it. Because it's disgusting, it's depressing, nobody wants that, particularly geared towards young adult audiences. Oddly enough, these still seem to be performing better in the written form than they do in film and TV franchises. That's because a lot of the time when you're in a written sort of setting, in a written form of media, like a book, you can imagine and you can fill in all the blanks. You can self-insert. You can make characters your own choosing. This is why so much fan casting is such a huge deal. People are like, oh, I think this person should play this. Because you're seeing that person in your head when you're reading it, or you're seeing yourself in there. These stories are actually quite subtle because they present bleak futures that seem all too believable, yet they typically show a new generation confronting the ominous world systems. They're a strange blend of darkness and optimism, but at least they suggest broken societies can be changed. Unlike Star Trek, which was a society that had started on the destruction of humanity, almost. And then the Vulcans saw, hey, you guys can do warp drive. You guys actually can kind of maybe come out to the rest of us, but you remind us of you, or you remind us of us. You remind us of the very people that we used to be, where we were out there at each other's throats and destroying each other. You remind us, we're going to help guide you. We're going to make sure you don't go out there and understand that other people think differently than you, and you're not going to impose your will on other people. You know what? You're going to try and make them come to the light themselves instead of forcing your hand with violence and that sort of thing. Given this context, Star Trek should be one of the most crucial sci-fi franchises of all. Gene Roddenberry knew how sci-fi worked, and he believed his franchise had the power to confront, even transform society. Unfortunately, the current writers and showrunners have struggled to present the same optimism. Exactly!
Sheer fucking hubris.
Yeah, they don't understand what made Star Trek great. They think it's all a bunch of memes.
I like science.
And a bunch of little buzzwords and things that we can clip.
This is so fucking cool.
It is fucking cool.
And it's not. It is not effing cool.
This is the power of math, people. Come on.
You are correct, MC.
You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that. And that is the problem here. You've got this new generation of writers, your Michael Chabons, your Alex Kurtzmans, your Akiva Goldsmans, your writers and producers who think they know better, and they think that they're just going to go around reciting back the same mob mentality that we see on Twitter and we see everywhere in the world right now. And that's the problem. We see that, and they just keep reciting back the same thing. They think anybody who has a problem with it, oh, you're just a white supremacist, you're just a Trump supporter. No, we just have a brain, and we're smarter than this. We're smarter than being talked down to like we're the bad guys. Because guess what? We're not always the bad guys. No. And they don't have the ability, they don't have the understanding, they don't have the wisdom to know what is wrong with their writing. Gene Roddenberry was a humanist, and his optimism shaped Star Trek. I believe in humanity, he famously observed in one interview. We are an incredible species. We are still just a child creature. We're still being nasty to each other, and all children go through those phases. We're growing up, moving into adolescence now. When we grow up, man, we're going to be something. Yes, Star Trek was intended as a vision of our potential future, one where humanity had grown beyond petty differences and self-interest. Grown beyond all this stuff. Grown beyond just needing to go out there and break shit up because damn it, I want my new iPhone now, and I'm tired of waiting in line. And by the way, I don't want to wait for change. I'm just going to do it right now because instant gratification, instant everything. Instant cell phones. I'm not going to wait till Christmas because why bother? I'm not going to wait until a video comes out. I'm going to know everything that happens before it comes out. That's the problem. We have the entire knowledge of humanity at our fingertips all the time. And it is ruining society who can't understand that sometimes things take time. Sometimes things prioritize themselves over other things. Sometimes you're in a situation where you're not really supposed to be around anybody just in case you spread something. And you might want to stay home. Racial tensions was a thing of the past. Women could serve on starship bridges. Yeah, see, it was a thing of the past. Women could serve on starship bridges and ultimately star as captains. And even alien civilizations had allied with humanity in galactic federation. The Vulcan philosophy of Idic, infinite diversity and infinite combinations, wasn't just a slogan, but rather a way of life. Starfleet didn't just acknowledge differences, they celebrated them. They didn't separate people by differences either. That's the other big difference, is that today, in this day and age, we have this giant game of... where is it? Wokemon going on, where they want to separate everybody based on ethnicity, gender, whatever the case may be, orientation, all of these things. They want to separate everybody to be nicely compact into little marketing groups, into their little category, because first off, you separate people by their assumed political association. Then you start separating those categories into, oh, well, you're of this persuasion, you're of this ethnicity, you're of this gender, you're of that, whatever. And that is all used for marketing purposes and market research. That is not used for progress. That is not used to keep people together. That is not used to unite and bind people together to overcome their differences. Because guess what? Everybody's going to have differences. You know what else? Everybody's going to have similarities. And I would rather focus more on the similarities we do have. Like compassion and understanding and the ability to think and speak. But in this day and age, we really, really don't, do we? We don't. And it's scary. It's terrifying. Yeah, and Idic wasn't just a slogan. Roddenberry's Star Trek declares humanity's best days are not behind us. They're ahead of us. Star Trek does not harp back on romanticized, overly nostalgic view of yesterday. The values of tomorrow do not include nationalism, financial prosperity, or power fantasies. Picard, remember how in Picard, Raffi decided that she was just jealous of Picard because he had a nice big vineyard. And she was living in a trailer at Vasquez Rocks, addicted to space you-know-what. That's a spaceship sound. Space you-know-what.
Smoke weed every day.
Yeah, only it's hallucinogenic and is actually addictive and probably harmful. There are still issues, but they arise from individual humans who have not become enlightened rather than from the system itself. This runs completely counter to what modern pessimism, our fear of the future, our nagging doubt about society's development. Star Trek is science fiction as counterculture. Yeah, it forgot its heart. It did. I love this article. I'm loving this article right here. Ooh, loving it. And welcome everybody in chat. I'm going to clip this bit. So anything you guys do say, like super chats and stuff, might have a possibility of appearing in the video. Unfortunately, modern Star Trek appears to have forgotten its optimistic heart. Star Trek Discovery's central character is Michael Burnham, and the first season began with Michael Burnham triggering a galactic war at the Battle of the Binary Stars. This was driven by her own fear and prejudice, her deep-rooted refusal to truly embrace the principle of Idic. Even though she had Sarek's Katra, his soul, inside of her after the mind meld, and that's why she was able to do everything. She couldn't even do it on her own because she's still wonderful and good, little Miss Mikey Sue Spock. Or at least to apply it to Klingons as well as Federation members. As Star Trek Discovery's Season 1 progressed, it showed the Federation at its worst, essentially modern society writ large. Oh, you're not wrong. They're not wrong at all. Not only did Michael Burnham start an intergalactic war with the Klingons, she assaulted her captain thinking that she knew best because oh no, you're just an old person. You shouldn't know. I know better because I'm the younger one and I know everything because I know best. Gee, what does that remind us of? And she assaults her captain, tries to perform a Vulcan neck pinch on her. Of course, she's not Vulcan, so little Philippa Giorgio stands up and she throws Michael Burnham in the bridge. This is the first 2 episodes, or in the brig rather. In the first 2 episodes, Michael Burnham starts the war, gets thrown in the brig, and then she escapes jail by using some sort of a logic loop by being the bestest, most amazing Starfleet officer that we've ever seen.
I like science.
I'm not showing clips of Michael Burnham because screw her. And then she just magically is invited along to go and raid the Klingon ship, where she says, hey, we can't kill the main guy because then he'll be a martyr. We can't take out Takuvma. So what's she do? She immediately, you guessed it, kills Takuvma because then he'll be a martyr. She's just a worthless piece of crap character who's constantly rewarded for her bad behavior. The idea of development and growth was gone. The point of the Federation considered an act of genocide. Worse still, the end of Star Trek Discovery saw. Season 2 saw the U.S. Discovery blasted into a future timeline that looks more dystopian. Even more dystopian. Oh, yeah. The United Federation of Planets is diminished, apparently reduced to just 6 members. Starfleet itself appears to have been long since wound down. As great and good as the Federation may have been, it did not last and is gradually being consigned to the history books. Meanwhile, Picard Season 1 was a heart of a story of nostalgia with corrupted Federation viewed as villains at worst, antagonists at best. Jean-Luc Picard had dreamed of doing good, but then failed, and instead had retreated to live and die in a chateau in France. Even when Picard finally took to the stars again, he was driven more by a desire to do one last good thing than by a belief in the Federation. And he was apologizing the whole time for it, emasculated, had to be talked down to by every woman and crew member around him. And again, forced identity politics into this too. Starship Picard ended with Jean-Luc and his crew heading off on new adventures, but they appear to have been independent from the Federation, perhaps still reluctant to trust an organization that had been compromised by anti-synthetic prejudice for decades. And what did we learn in Picard? Oh, they gave us the exact... Watch Red Letter Media's video on it. They're absolutely right. They just basically teach you that maybe the Federation was right, the synths were bad and probably should have been destroyed, and... yay, Romulans are bad too. So their whole message is racism's good and humanity is bad. That's their whole message apparently, but they don't even understand that, right?
This is the power of math, people!
There are hopeful signs. Star Trek Picard Season 1 may have dined out of nostalgia, but it cannot continue. And Michael Burnham and her crew were given a much-needed shot of optimism in Discovery Season 2, and yet the problem remains. Many viewers assume that U.S. Discovery will help usher in a new golden age of the Federation in the 23rd century, but the philosophical message inherent in the concept runs counter to Roddenberry's vision too. Roddenberry believed in the slow march forward progress. He did not believe the future would flourish if we look to the past. And Discovery and her crew is in the 23rd century, a symbol of the past. Oh, this is great. See, and Roddenberry is absolutely right. You cannot look to the future if you're so constantly stuck on, we gotta fix this. This was bad in the past. This was bad in the past. This was bad in the past. Yeah, we got it. We got it. Get over it. Move on. All right. Okay. Move on. It's not going to change, and replacing it with a brand new set of prejudices is not going to help anything right now. Get over it. Get over it. Strange New Worlds could be just what the franchise needs. No, it's not. And you know what? I'm not even going to bother reading this because... Like you guys said in chat at the beginning, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. I knew with Picard, based on everything that they were telling us, everything the producers and Patrick Stewart and everybody was saying, it was not going to be good. And this gives me no reason to believe this is not going to be more of the same old garbage Star Trek that we've had time and time again.
Don't give me the Star Trek crap. It's too early in the morning.
Exactly. So... I don't see Strange New Worlds. If it happens, it's not going to be anything good, progressive. It's not going to make anything better. Tell me what you guys think in the comment section of this clipped portion, and I am going back to my live chat. Don't you guys go anywhere.